It's that time of year. It's championship week. We got some awards to hand out. It's the second annual Sports Reports in Order NFL Awards. Sports Reports is ordered. Yes, you are now listening to the sounds of Mr. Logical.
You're
born in Texas, raised in VA, representing everything New Jerusalem. He wants you to know that even though Gotham City was based off of a combination of New York, Chicago, and London, it's actually Bridgeton, New Jersey.
Word.
So stand up.
Shout out to Bridgeton. I'm going to be in Bridgeton tomorrow.
DC Comics. And he wants you to know, just in case you didn't know, Alaska's not the only state with these islands. Cape May is actually further south than Baltimore. And I am 2'5" with the guitars that sound like Parliament. Malice greater than Pusha T. Going left so much, you thought I was Southpaw. Let's get to it. Like, review, subscribe, share, rate, do all the free things. Do all the good things. So, Mr. Logical, we got some awards to hand out, but first, we got to do some cleanup of inventory here. So there's been a bunch of coaching movement in the NFL today in the last couple of days. So taking it from the top, Ben Johnson, offensive coordinator from the Lions, new head coach of the Chicago Bears. Liam Cohen, with all the drama in the world, is now the head coach of the Jacksonville Jaguars.
He was hired like Gary Owen from his ex-wife.
then you got the Raiders with the shock of them all. They hired old man Carroll, formerly of Seattle. Same age as Bill Belichick. We'll see how that works. At least Bill Belichick is recruiting. Then, you got the Dallas Cowboys, America's alleged team, hiring their offensive coordinator, Brian Schottenheimer.
You mean Marty Jr.?
Yeah. Aaron Glenn to the Jets. And then Robert Saleh back to the 49ers as defensive coordinator. So, Mr. Logical, what are your takeaways?
I remember I said I was going to be surprised if Chicago did the right thing. I think they did. I think they nailed it. Jacksonville, it just makes me think, why didn't you get rid of the GM when Byron Leftwich wanted them? I guess you needed a few more years of torture.
Former Jaguar Byron Leftwich.
Yeah, I mean, he's him and Mark Brunell, Jimmy Smith, Fred Taylor, Maurice Jones-Drew.
You see that shade to Keenan McCardell?
And Pete and what's the boy name? Roselli. The tackle who only played like 6 years, but somehow in all.
Peluzny.
Peluzny. That he had a dope name. Linebacker. Shout out to Penn State. I thought, like I said, I thought they would butcher the deal. Like you said, they're looking at like what, $13 million over 4 years?
For Ben Johnson, 5. I think it's 5 years. Yeah,
5 years.
But it's 13 per year. Yeah.
Yeah. So 13 per year. I thought they were gonna do something like, offer him a low number, knowing they can afford more, and let him walk to the Jets, and the Jets are going to give him exactly what he wanted. I thought that was going to be the case, and they were going to do the Dallas Cowboy thing, which is just hire just somebody, some guy, a name, because he was the most sought after date for the prom.
Mm-hmm.
The captain of the football team wanted to take, but you got the nerd in the analytics class came through with the money, so Chicago's gonna make it work. I don't know if they have the wheels to do some of the. They definitely have the offensive line talent to do some of those trick plays. Like, I don't think they were deep enough at the job. I don't think those guys were good enough at their regular jobs, let alone to be out here running slant routes and drag routes at the goal line. Like, you can't even sidestep and block. Like, you can't even pick up the blitz. So you need to work on that part first. So hopefully you get that figured out. So I like it. I'm excited because I think Caleb Williams I think he needs an offensive coach that tells him like specific things during the learning process. Because we all go back to that Detroit, Chicago Thanksgiving debacle where Matt Eberflus, you knew your rookie was kind of flustered. You knew he needed some kind of guidance, but because you're not an offensive guy, you just assume that the offense would just figure it out. I think an offensive coach will look and be like, that wide receiver is too far down the field. This guy looks gas. And the play that I gave him the play before to run on this next play in the event you got sacked requires these guys to both run all out.
Right.
So timeout. Whereas Eberflus is like, cool. They called 4 verticals and they just run it back to the line. Okay, cool. He'll make it time. Like it's 30 seconds. He'll make it like, but not knowing like not understanding like the the mechanism of the play. The Pete Carroll to the Raiders just kind of shows me that they're not a serious organization.
I mean, is he going to end up having his son on the Bill Belichick deal? Like, you got to bring my son in as the coach in waiting?
I like Pete Carroll in the office sitting next. I don't even know why Tom Brady signed off.
Well, see, I like Pete Carroll if
he's a liaison and you're paying
or like if you're going to hire him as a head coach. If it was somebody like, say, Buffalo, if it was somebody like Buffalo, that's like right on the doorstep, you know what I mean? And you're like, yo, we've exhausted ourselves trying to win the Super Bowl. We can't get over the hump. Let's do something drastic. Let's get a guy that's won a Super Bowl. But Pete Carroll, like, okay, like, who's your quarterback next year? Like you running it back with Gardner Minshew or Aiden O'Connell? I doubt it. You're 6th in the draft. So I'm assuming that Shador and Cam Ward aren't going to be there. So you're going to have to wait until the late second, early third to try to grab like a Jackson Dart or maybe a Quinn Ewers or somebody like that. But if you're a team like, so for example, when you got a guy like LeBron James, right? You know what I mean? And you bring in a Frank Vogel that makes sense. You bring in a Darvin Ham, maybe that makes sense. When you bring in like a JJ Redick, and this is not to disparage JJ Redick, I'm just going off of like his experience.
JJ Redick should be coaching Charlotte or Orlando.
Right. He should be a novice building himself up. The Raiders
have a single player on his roster that thinks they can win a championship.
Yes, the Raiders should have been talking to Liam. The Raiders should have been talking to a Aaron Glenn or somebody along those lines that'll bring an identity and a culture to your team, because even if Pete Carroll settles in and creates the Raider lore, how long you got him for? Like not enough to see the rebuild through.
Pete Carroll's older than disposable contact lenses.
Yeah, he'll be 74 by the time the season starts.
He's older than cassette tapes. He's older than the microwave oven.
I'm
not trying to be an ageist. I'm just looking at it like this. You got Vegas right there. I just watched The Hangover the other night. Great movie. I love it. But the suite that they got at the Caesars, say you get a young coach and you tell them like, hey, that's your resident or one of these suites for why you here. Don't worry about looking for a house, especially if you got a guy like maybe just married and not have kids or whatever. Something like, you know what? This is your suite the way they fit. I think 50 Cent has a suite there, Celine Dion, when she did a residency. It's like you use the city to like really sell your coach, which you sell free agents on. You have the draft pick that you can also use your coach. You got the GM. I just feel like having a 73-year-old head coach when you're so far in 4th place in your division, you don't have enough rope to give him to get you from worst to first.
I'm telling you, he's going to try to bring Russell Wilson there.
I would hope not. I like honestly, like
if coaches love familiarity.
I mean, best case scenario, you might get DK. I think that could be a move. I don't know if we know we talk about how AJ Brown got traded by the Titans
Mm-hmm.
for Philly's first round pick. I don't know if 6 for Metcalf is the move. Maybe if you add 26, but like I think that's a good familiar face. But yeah, I'm not a big fan of that move just because it's like you are a quarterback and skill position wise. You're 2 years behind Denver at a minimum.
So yeah,
Unless you hit on the quarterback at 6, if you get a chance, if you don't hit on the quarterback this offseason, you're already a year behind Denver with their development with Bo Nix. So now you don't hit on the quarterback either in free agency or through the draft this year. That puts you at least one more year behind because you only can assume he's going to get better.
and the Chargers
Justin
should
Herbert's
only
going to
get better. Well, no, I just mean in general, the team though,
Yeah,
with another year of Harbaugh. Yeah,
and then you look at Kansas City; they're going to be consistent. At a minute, like Kansas City's not going to go even all these one-score games. The likelihood they go 8-9 next year is unlikely. So you're going to be deep in 4th place, and you got a guy that you can't keep there for more than 2 years tops.
So going by salary, the top free agents right now at quarterback: Sam Darnold, Zach Wilson, Trey Lance, Jacoby Brissett, and Taylor Heineke.
All right.
And then you got Mariota right after Heineke.
So best case scenario, you get Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's looking for, if I'm Sam Darnold's agent, after the last game against Detroit and the playoff game, if I could get the Baker deal, maybe give me $5 more million on that. But the 3-year look like 3-year 135, something like that. Mm-hmm. If I can get that deal for him, I'm happy. Unless Minnesota's going to part ways with McCarthy, which is unlikely because if I'm an organization, I looked at Kevin O'Connell, what he did with Kirk Cousins, and then what he did with
Sam Darnold.
What he did with Sam Darnold, and in that year between post Kirk Cousins injury, he had Josh Dobbs in there who didn't know the offensive linemen.
Nick Mullins
in there. He had guys in there that they were making plays. Minnesota beat Atlanta with Josh Dobbs, and he had just gotten
his first game. Yeah,
mm-hmm. Yeah, he flew to Minnesota.
And it was at home.
Flew down to Atlanta. Yeah, and they flew down to Atlanta. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So, so you're looking at it that way. Maybe you say, "Cool, let me pay this remaining $9 million to this rookie," and then I go and get. Maybe I make the AJ Brown call because I believe AJ Brown's going to be available after this year. I think his time in Philly is kind of wearing thin. I think he wants to make big plays downfield, and I believe around like week 10, Philly just realized, yo, this dude 26 is a cheat code. We gonna do this other stuff, make it look like we want to throw the ball, but we trying to get the ball to Saquon.
Right.
So we're going to call 8 draws for Jalen Hurts. We're going to throw 3 screen passes, and then we're going to get the ball to Saquon 22 times. So I think he might be available. I think I don't know if T. Higgins in Minnesota is going to work. But, I mean, like I said.
No, I mean, you already got Jordan Addison.
You got Jordan Addison. But if you want to just go all in with weapons, maybe you call Atlanta and get Kyle Pitts. You get a couple of tight ends up there. I think you can make it work if you're not paying Sam Darnold $30 million. But I think the Raiders at this point, I can see the Raiders going 3 years, 135 for Sam Darnold.
So what do you think about Brian Schottenheimer?
I think it's the same thing as the Callahan in Tennessee. They shook hands, they played golf, they talked about the old days, and they hired the son of the guy that they knew from back in the day. Because if you look at Dallas, were they extra explosive on offense ever?
No.
This whole season. They went into the all season knowing they needed a running back. They brought back Zeke, Rico Dottle, the other kid whose dad works in the organization.
Deuce Vaughn. Yeah.
Deuce Vaughn. I'm not disrespecting, but it's like you just basically rounded up nepotism. You got a bad deal on your quarterback. You paid him $60 million. He ripped his hamstring off the bone. and now you're handicapped because you paid your quarterback $60 million, you paid your wide
Paid
receiver
CD.
$35
Yep.
million.
Now Micah's
And,
coming up.
and now trade Micah. I'm not because I don't think his talent's wise. I just think like you need
other
to
stuff.
build. Yeah. And best case scenario, Micah gets you. If Micah doesn't get you 20, if a defensive end can't guarantee a triple team or 20 sacks, I know 20 is a huge number, but if he's not pushing those numbers, then
especially considering that nobody in the league got 20 sacks this year.
That's a crazy number. But like Myles Garrett, he can wreck your game plan.
Right.
You can move him around.
What is it? We lose sleep at night trying to game plan for him.
Game plan for him. It was like, I know Aaron Donald is an all-time great, but you can't those guys don't just fall out of the sky.
TJ Watt, Myles Garrett.
TJ Watt, Myles Garrett, JJ back in the day. Like some of these guys that if you can't get that, you look for a team look for one of these teams that just made the playoffs, one of these 14 teams who feel like, you know what, if we had this kind of defensive presence here, we have everything else. The Chargers probably feel like they got everything. They might want to go younger. So I think Khalil Mack's moving. If I'm Dallas, I'm moving defensive pieces to get offensive weaponry, and maybe I hire a more creative defensive coordinator and say, hey, you got enough talent, make it work.
You know who might want Micah Parsons? Liam Cohen. Jacksonville Jaguars,
they drafted defensive ends like number 1 overall, like 2, 4 or 5.
Yeah, but I know that. But I know that Josh Allen, the other Josh Allen, they tagged him this year. So I don't know what that looks like for this year as far as are they going to bring him back. Also, like, let's get to Cohen for a second. So my man was just ghosting Todd Bowles this whole time.
Yo, listen.
Trying to get my money, man.
If you get a divorce and it was already known you was already out here, you're not taking calls from your future ex-wife when you out here popping balloons on set. Like, you're like, nah, I'm making other moves, especially considering that whatever he voiced about Trent Baalke, and then Baalke gets fired, and then his phone starts ringing with a Jacksonville area code again. He's like, okay, cool.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, y'all really rocks with me. Let's make these deals. Let me see what kind of power I'm gonna get. I'm always weary of. I think one thing that does work well for him is that a lot of the skill position talent on Tampa Bay was injured for blocks of time, and he had Baker as his quarterback. And I'm not sure how many people believe holistically in Baker. So I think people look at like, oh, this guy had 40 touchdowns. Like Baker had 40 touchdowns with this guy. And Todd Bowles knows nothing about offense. So I think that combination made him look probably like a better candidate. And like I said,
you know what else?
What's that?
He proved your theory true. All you gotta do is hang with Sean McVay for a little bit.
Oh, he had a coffee with Sean McVay?
Yeah, he was Kevin O'Connell's replacement at offensive coordinator after the Super Bowl.
Oh yeah, so he was in there like a dirty shirt.
Yeah, so he went there for a year. He ended up at Kentucky somehow. Coaching for Mark Stoops, who's just Mark Stoops, ground and pound, defensive. So he didn't even get to really explore his playbook, if you will. And then he ended up with Baker Mayfield, and here we are. He's the head coach of Trevor Lawrence now. But he's been a quarterback coach at minimum, since about 2010.
But how we were talking about J.J. Redick being the coach of a team that's kind of up and coming, this makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Especially in that division, because really what you have is Houston, which seems like they're going to be the creme de la creme of that division. And Jacksonville, if they can get above average play out of Trevor Lawrence, if they can get Justin Herbert level
And they got the receiver.
production, if they can get that consistent, don't turn the ball over. Because I look at it like this: you play 17 games. If you can get me 28 to 30 touchdowns, less than 11 picks, if you can go 28 and 10, but use your legs, get me a couple hundred yards rushing on the season, 200 or 300, just your scrambles, maybe a touchdown. Like, just if you can use your young athleticism, stretch plays, give me big plays. We bolster the defense because I think they have the offense as far as like the weaponry figured out. If Liam can install his Tampa Bay offense with them and they can make it work. Like I said, with subpar quarterback play, Brian Thomas, a rookie, went over 1,100 yards. So that's promising. Like, at least he's getting open with inconsistent quarterback.
Yeah, they still got Evan Ingram.
Ingram,
you know, they got the two running backs.
So I think
offense is fine.
They just and their division, like I said, their division is winnable.
Yeah, you got Anthony Richardson. You know what I mean? You got whatever Tennessee's going to do with Will Levis.
And then Tennessee sitting at 1, correct?
Correct.
So best case scenario, you got a rookie quarterback on a team with the coach who hired his dad as another position. This was like you're not rolling up against a juggernaut anywhere in your division. You have Indy, who's been trying to, like, my pop's an Indy fan. He's been trying to get rid of the GM for years.
GM, and then you got the defensive coordinator finally gone.
You got a Nepo baby as the owner, so it's like they're not going to make any creative moves. So yeah, I think it's a winnable division. About Aaron in New York. Aaron in New York, that's tough. It's tough playing for your coaching your old team, especially. And we don't know what they're going to do with the other Aaron. So you got an Aaron, you got an Aaron problem up in East Rutherford or Florham Park.
Yeah, it's time to
and the Detroit
see what Mike Tomlin want to do.
Yeah, and the Detroit defense wasn't great.
No, they did have a load of injuries.
They had a lot of injuries.
But they still, to me, were never really a top-notch defense.
I'm just not sure if I think the smart move would have been to go to Vegas.
You ready for the next news?
We got an update. What we got?
Matt Eberflus, defensive coordinator, Dallas Cowboys. You thinking too hard.
Like, I want to hate it, but
I mean, it makes sense.
I think defense is scheme 35%, talent 65%.
Mm-hmm.
I think offense is talent 40%, scheme 60%.
Mm-hmm.
Because I think for the most part, like I said this before, I think every offensive team has the same kind of basic makeup. You got a 6'2", 3 or 4 wide receiver. Maybe you have 2 of them. Your tight end is versatile, and then you have a blocking tight end. You have a bigger back, and then you have a receiving back. Your offensive line is your offensive line. And then you have like a shifty slot guy. I think that's kind of like the standard makeup. 2 tall wide receivers, shifty slot guy, a pass catching tight end, a couple of blocking tight ends, a bruising running back, a running back that can catch. Quarterback is your standard, except for like guys like Kyler Murray and Bryce Young. For the most part, your quarterbacks are 6'1.5", 6'2", 6'4", 220, 230 pounds. Josh Allen being like an anomaly. So I think there you have to have the scheme to get these guys open. But with defense, I think you need the players that can. I think you need the corner that can turn his run pedal backwards as fast as you're running forward and break down and turn his hips and break on the ball. I think you need the defensive line. Like I talked about this with Atlanta. I watched so many games where there's no push up front. You need the guy that can like push up front, whereas Baltimore can get Justice Hill in the space off a scheme. You know what I mean? Like, so I think like that. That's why it's like 65-35 talent on defense, 65-35 scheme on offense. I know people probably argue, but if you think about it, why do you think they're always so hell bent on getting new coaches in and not replacing a bunch of players?
I mean, I don't know, but part of that you could say is easier because it's just one person versus, like one coordinator versus trying to replace 4 players or something like that.
Yeah, but like I said, I think that your defensive talent, because Aaron Donald on that play in the Super Bowl against the Bengals, if he's blocked better, Joe Burrow throws a touchdown to a wide open Jamar Chase on the sideline because he was wide open. Because even when he slammed his helmet, it was nobody there. Aaron Donald's talent, that wasn't a scheme. It wasn't anything drawn up. He didn't stunt. He just ran through the center and the guard.
He just wanted it more.
He just was better than the guy blocking him.
Right.
Whereas if that's blocked better, like don't drop the running back into the flat. You scheme up that he helps the guard if Aaron gets through and he just does whatever he can to get in the way, and Joe Burrow can slide 2 to 3 yards more back. That's a touchdown, and they win the Super Bowl. Yeah. That's what I mean. The difference. I think on defense, Lawrence Taylor was unblockable. Myles Garrett unblockable. They could terrorize you, but if you have an offense like we seen Kansas City when they were playing against Tampa Bay in the Super Bowl, Kansas City had the better offensive weapons. I think
just couldn't block.
40-something-year-old Tom Brady was not a better physical quarterback than 20-something-year-old Patrick Mahomes, but defensively, everybody was getting through because they were just beating up the guys up front because offense couldn't run their scheme because they didn't have the talent to match it up. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah. Speaking of Myles Garrett, it's time for some awards. We're gonna do it. We're gonna take it from the top here, starting with MVP. So let's do this right. The finalists are.
Are we guessing who's
going? Well, I was just gonna list out the finalists. We'll pick who our winner is, or if you want to list the order, we can do that. If you want to say somebody got snubbed,
the winner. I'm saying, are we guessing our winner?
Yes,
or going to be the
yes,
winner?
Our winner. This is the Sports Reports is Ordered award show. Okay. You know what I'm saying? So you can add snubs. You can add somebody that's not a finalist. I'm just going to give you the finalist, and then we'll just go from there.
All right.
So for MVP, the finalists are Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Jared Goff, and Saquon Barkley. Mr. Logical, who is your MVP?
Like, I've been going back and forth with this just as much as I've been going back and forth with my picks. I still haven't really fully picked my picks for the championships. I think Lamar Jackson's season was so spectacular that it outweighs the Josh Allen doing more with less. And I think Joe Burrow's season was so incredible that I wish his team would have made the playoffs because that would have been my vote easy. But I'm going to go with Lamar Jackson just because it's not like his team had like a runaway season. They had some losses. The defense was playing poorly, very similar to Cincinnati. Baltimore had the personnel. Like I said, defensively, you have the personnel. You make your adjustments. So you move Kyle Hamilton back. You bring guy Wiggins, the rookie that got out of Clemson. They brought him down. Make Wiggins play a little bit more. And that role Kyle, you stay back. I know it's tempting for you to be in the box. We're going to keep these other guys down here. So I'm going to say Lamar's season was so spectacular, even with the up and down that they had at the beginning of the year. Because me and you they were 0-2. And I was like, when they went to Dallas, you were like, and I picked Baltimore, and you were like, why you picking Baltimore? I was like, because they can't go 0-3.
Mm-hmm. And that was the same reason that I picked them too.
Like they can't go 1-3, and then they go on this run, and like so many teams go 0-2, don't make the playoffs. You know all that
lost to the Raiders and shit.
Yeah, lost to the Raiders with fucking Gardner Minshew and that mullet
at home.
So I'm gonna go Lamar Jackson because, like I said, even though he's spectacular, his numbers passing were spectacular, very similar to his unanimous MVP that he won the first time. He led the league. People don't realize he led the league in touchdown passes that year, which was not expected of him, considering that Bill Polian, a Hall of Fame GM, said he should try the wide receiver. Now he's about to win his third MVP. So I got Lamar, 40-plus touchdowns, 4,000 yards passing, 800 yards rushing, 4 interceptions. All of them bounce off wide receivers' hands. I mean, like, the war writes itself. It sucks that they lost last week, but once again, the ball literally bounced off wide receivers' hands, like a receiver's hands.
Well, knowing me how you know me, you know who I got.
You got Saquon Barkley.
I got Saquon Barkley.
I knew it.
You know what I mean?
Like conversation. Just when you said know me like you know me, I was like, yeah.
Yeah, I got Saquon. Yeah, because last year, I chose Christian McCaffrey. This is not a running back thing. I don't have an affinity for running backs. Saquon Barkley is a victim of the MVP because Jalen Hurts stole all his damn touchdowns. If that didn't happen, Saquon would probably have something like 25 touchdowns.
23 to 26 for sure.
Yes, and you know what I mean? So, of course, he probably would have broke the all-time record if he would have played week 18. When I look at Lamar, I feel like everything you said is correct. Like, he's the obvious choice. But and this is not his fault, so I'm going to preface it. This is not his fault. But it's also hard for me when you got a 1,900-yard rusher in your backfield.
Yeah, and that's why I tossed back and forth between him and Josh Allen, because it's like, yes, Josh did more with less, but Lamar still had 15 more passing touchdowns.
Right.
And he ran the ball for 800 yards.
Right. But also for Josh Allen, and that's my guy, right? Nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills. But he went 9 for 30 against the Texans. In those last 3 or 4 games of the season, he straight looked like dog water. You know what I mean? So, like, that matters to me, like, as far as
I don't think people remember that because he had 6 touchdowns against the Rams, and then he caught it.
They beat Detroit the week after that.
Yeah, he had the touchdown that Amari Cooper tossed back to him. So he was the first quarterback to ever have a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and a receiving touchdown. Yeah. So that 9 for 30, you just reminded people of that. So if the voters are watching our show,
and that was early in the season
because they steal a lot of Mike's shit every week. So I'm pretty sure some intern in New York City right now working for one of these shows is watching, taking notes of what Mike said. So we're going to hear 9 for 30 at some point this weekend of why he can't win MVP. You know where he came from. Keep going.
And I said no to Jared Goff just because his team won a game where he threw 5 interceptions, But as far as
the year, I was a big Jared Goff guy.
I'm always a big Jared Goff guy early in the year. He just never finishes. And that's the thing with MVP that frustrates me because some people look at it as like, how did you finish the year? Like I always talk about last year, how, it went from Dak 1 week. They lost at Miami. Tua became the leader. They got blown out by Baltimore. And then Baltimore blew out San Francisco. So we had to give it to Lamar Jackson because he was the last quarterback standing as far as the last one to win. And that's my conundrum with this MVP is because he got the MVP last year off of what was mostly a lackluster year, like numbers wise. And he's basically doubled his numbers this year, as far as touchdowns and that type of thing. So theoretically, he should be the MVP, but it's not just all about him. There's a whole league around him.
Correct.
So I'm going with Saquon. You know what I mean? I don't really have anybody that I feel needs to be in the conversation. Like you could probably make if the Ravens had featured Derrick Henry more because I think it's impressive that he got 1,921 yards, considering our biggest complaint all year is give Derrick Henry the ball.
Yeah, that is crazy. I mean, if that was the case, I would slide Goff out because we already have 4 quarterbacks.
Right.
Or Burrow because they didn't make the playoffs.
Yeah, like Saquon only.
I think Burrow comes out because, first of all, I don't know why he's a finalist, knowing that his team didn't make the playoffs. Right. So it's like, why would you waste a finalist spot on it?
Well, Saquon only finished something like 84 yards ahead of Derrick Henry. You know what I mean? That's just wild to think about. And we're like, why the hell didn't the Ravens give Derrick Henry the ball? And it's like, yo, they did. Like, but just still not enough. Yards. Thanks, Alohi. You know, and then we got Offensive Player of the Year. You know what I'm saying? So the finalists.
I hate this award.
I hate it too, but I got to give it to somebody. Joe Burrow, Saquon Barkley, Jamar Chase, Lamar, and Derrick Henry. So for the MVP, we didn't put Derrick Henry in, but he's good enough for the Opoi to possibly take votes away from Lamar Jackson. Jamar Chase is in the Opoi. So this one's tough, Mr. Logical. I can't lie to you. This one's tough.
I think this is the Saquon Award.
Okay.
Because they know a running back has to hit, he got to hit 2,100 or 2,200 yards.
Right.
He's got to run for 2,200, and that's the only way to ignore what every other quarterback did. He has to hit 2,200. But the Offensive Player of the Year, the fact that they threw 2 quarterbacks in there who are already in the MVP conversation. Personally, I don't know why they pissed in our pocket and tell us this ran in with these awards. Because if I'm the MVP and I'm an offensive player,
I should be the Offensive Player of the Year.
I should be the Offensive Player of the Year because I am the Player of the Year. I am the guy. The long snappers, kickers, holders, punters, defensive ends, all 1,453 players, whatever that number is at the end of the season.
Oh, you know I got a retort for that, right?
I am it.
I got a retort for that.
Especially, okay, for instance, hypothetically, Lamar, I think Lamar's going to win it. So if he's he's MVP and his numbers are outstanding, he should be Player of the Year. But I know this is where they fall back and give it to the running backs who deserve more MVP consideration. So I'm going to go Saquon Barkley, not only because I think he's going to get it, but he did literally change how Philly played football. But like I said, it could be to the detriment. Like I said in our previous segment, A.J. Brown could be out of Philly because they basically stopped throwing him the ball because Jalen Hurts was 18 to 22 passes, and we'll get Saquon in the spot.
So knowing me how you know me,
you're going to say Jamar Chase.
I'm going to say Jamar Chase. So before I even answer that, let me retort the point that you made. I do think it is, here comes your word now, I do think it's a salient point. But I think the problem that I have with it, just thinking about it in the context of this year, when I look at somebody like Joe Burrow, he literally put the Bengals on his back because he had to. You can't give him the MVP, though, because his team didn't make the playoffs. So theoretically, you could say, if you didn't even make the playoffs, how valuable are you? But if we're just talking about offensive player, what did you do on the field? I don't necessarily care about impact. That's what the MVP award is for. So I'm not looking at impact. I'm just looking at who did I watch play football and they dazzled me and mesmerized me. So Joe Burrow could win the award. Lamar could win the award. Derrick Henry, maybe not so much, because you got Lamar in his way. Saquon, I just gave the MVP, so I don't want to give him this award. I'm giving it to the guy that won the Triple Crown, because as much as as great as Joe Burrow was for most of this year, remember they did only score 10 points against New England. Jamar Chase has been the standard at wide receiver this year.
Jamar Chase has some ridiculous stat, and I'm pretty sure I'm going to quote it wrong, but it was something along the lines of only one receiver, no receiver had ever had 10 plus catches, 175 yards, and 2 touchdowns in a game or something like that until he did it against the Ravens. Then he did it again against the Ravens, and then he did it again against someone else. No one ever had that stat line ever before. It's like something like 14
he did it 3 times
catches
in 1 year.
It was like 14 plus catches, 175 yards, and 2 touchdowns, and he did it 3 times.
Right. But Joe Burrow gets the credit for that because he's the quarterback. You know what I'm saying? So, I don't know what that looks like. I don't want to do the hypothetical. What if Jamar Chase was out and it was just T. Higgins? Would it have looked the same? I don't want to do that. But I'm going to just go with the Triple Crown winner. Joe Burrow, though, is very worthy. He was first in touchdowns. He was first in yards. He had the most completions by a whole.
So you're going with Jamar 53. Chase because you have Saquon as your MVP.
Yeah, theoretically,
this is the Sports Reports' ordered selection.
Okay. Yes. In real life, I think Lamar wins the MVP, and I think Saquon wins the Offensive Player of the Year. But this is 2-5 awards. You know what I'm saying? And of course, I am 2-5. So then you got Defensive Player of the Year. So this is a list for you. You got Zach Bond from the Eagles, Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, Patrick Surtain II, a.k.a. PS2, and T.J. Watt, a.k.a. the Steelers better not ever get rid of him. So who you got? Oh, word. I love that.
All right, so I like what Bond did for Philly, but I also think that Philly's overall defense was outstanding.
Okay.
I find it difficult to give AP Defensive Player of the Year award to a corner. I know, a lot of times they can shut down half the field. But I'm going to go with Zach Bond.
Okay.
I think leading the Eagles defense, especially considering coming into the season, that was one of the question marks because they had the leadership issue with Kelsey retiring and then Fletcher Cox retiring, defensive side of the ball. I believe a lot of people love Jordan Davis coming out of Georgia, just being that big, being able to move like that, and Jalen Carter was kind of figuring it out. He came into his own this year, but Zach Bond was everywhere. He was everywhere in the middle of the field. He's got the green dye, he's calling all the plays. He was just making so many plays. I saw one game where he got called. I think he got an interception, but there was a penalty on Philly, and 2 plays later he got the pick anyway. So it was a fumble or something like that, and then he came right back 2 plays later and got the pick. So just that kind of impact. I like it when the linebackers because they're everywhere. My son plays linebacker, so I see I'm looking for 5. I'm looking for him on the field. He's running around, and I'm seeing him at the bottom of the pile. I'm seeing him pointing. I'm seeing him checking. I'm seeing them putting guys in position. So they have so much going on because the safety has the same thing, but the safety is 13, 14 yards back. They can't get too close to deliver messages because the ball gets snapped, you're out of position. So that I'm just impartial to that inside linebacker and the impact they have on the game because, a linebacker misses a tackle, that's the first down. No matter what the play looks like, if you get a linebacker in space, running back in space, and that tackle's missed, that's probably your first down. So, having that responsibility, also having to rush the passer, riding tight ends up the seam. So, I just think, all the responsibility that you have as a linebacker to be at the pinnacle of that position, I think I just marvel at that. But like I said, I'm partial. Because, down the hallway for me is a pretty outstanding linebacker. So,
knowing me how you know me,
you're not going to say the name You'll say pass retain.
No.
Okay.
You know what I'm saying? So before I say my name, I got some snubs here. This is my first set of snubs. So before I get to the snubs, let me back it up because remember we talk about MVP and how a running back hasn't won it since Adrian Peterson. So in the history of the Defensive Player of the Year award, all 53 winners, there have only been 5 safeties that have won this award. You know, the last one was Mr. Polamalu back in 2010. So my snubs, Kirby Joseph, you know, Mr. Draymond Green himself.
He got snubbed from the Pro Bowl.
He did. 83 tackles, 12 breakups, 1 ejection. You know, he was the league lead in interceptions with 9.
9 picks.
Yeah.
9, like, if you think about that, I think the all-time lead, like, I think the guy all-time active right now might be Harrison Smith, with about 27 or 30.
Yeah, he's got a third of that. You know what I mean? And, you know, and if you hear about advanced stats, he has the 4th lowest missed tackle rate of all safeties in the NFL. So he's actually, so not only is he a snub, he's actually my winner because I like a little bad boy football to go with my bad boy basketball. My other snub, and this is, I'm going to call this the Lamar Jackson snub because you might look at his stats and say, that don't sound like a snub. But when I watch the football game on the TV, he's the guy that's everywhere. He jumps off the screen, all that kind of stuff like that. Xavier McKinney from the Green Bay Packers. You know, 60 tackles, 8 picks. He had a fumble recovery, defensed 11 passes, and had a sack. This is a safety with 11 passes defended. That's not a corner because when I look at Patrick Surtain,
a lot of interception for 17 pick
between 2 safeties. So when I look at Patrick Surtain, 11 passes defended. So to some degree, how can I be impressed with you as a corner with 11 pass defense when I got a safety out here with 11 passes defense?
And he also has 8 picks.
And he also has 8 picks, you know, compared to your 4.
Credit,
now, granted, they don't throw his way. Right.
He follows the best wide receiver all game. He shuts him down, and they like I said, the old stuff on Gilmore, shut up half the field, Darrell Reeves, Dion, the Champ Bailey, Darrell Green.
So I'm glad Alo Hilani said what she said about the rewrite the reward package. Don't forget the impact statement because that applies to how I'm looking at this award because we talk about EPRs and board processes. Everybody looks like a superstar. Yeah. So I got to find my way to separate you.
Yo, my MSM had me looking like a G.
See what I'm saying? So
I saved half of UAE.
So Myles Garrett, right? 47 tackles. He was second in sacks with 14, 3 forced fumbles, fumble recovery. You know, Trey Hendrickson from the Bengals, 46 tackles, led the league in sacks by a full 3.5 sacks over Myles Garrett, 2 forced fumbles, 6 passes defended.
That's hitting at the line of scrimmage. Did they count that?
I know, but still, I don't know. But okay. And then you got TJ Watt down here. 61 tackles, 11.5 sacks, 6 forced fumbles, first in the league, 2 recoveries, 4 passes defended. And then your guy, Zach Bond, 151 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 5 forced fumbles, a pick, and a defense pass. I'm going with TJ Watt because he's the best combination of everything.
Yeah, and if you look at the offense that he was running, a lot of their wins were because Pittsburgh was getting them the ball back defensively, or they were just getting punts or getting turnovers. So, yeah.
All right.
I give you that.
All right. So, Coach of the Year.
I think that might be the only one where the winner.
I don't think you could be mad about whoever they pick.
I think that's the only one where the bets are spread somewhat.
Probably evenly. Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. So, Coach of the Year. We got the guy that had coffee with Sean McVay and won him a Super Bowl as the offensive coordinator, Kevin O'Connell. We got Mr. Logical's most hated coach in the league, Sean Payton. We got Daniel Quinn. We got Dan Campbell. And, of course, we got Big Red. Who you got, Mr. Logical?
Sports reports is ordered.
Sports reports is ordered. Oh, in real life, I think Myles Garrett is going to win Defensive Player of the Year.
Really?
Yeah, I think he's going to win it back to back. But
even though the no playoff success,
I don't think it matters.
You don't think it's going to work in
Bond's favor
or Hendrick's favor?
Oh, we'll see. We're going to have to see.
If you're going to pick a guy that didn't make the playoffs, I would imagine you pick the
Trey Hendrickson,
the guy who led the league in like a major stat.
Yeah. All right. But yeah, Coach of the Year.
Coach of the Year. I mean, Kevin O'Connell seems to be the no-brainer because I think that everyone was so out on Sam Darnold. This won't happen, but I'm gonna go ahead and give him his flowers. I'm gonna say Sean Payton. Sean Payton. Listen, I don't like him. I didn't think he was gonna be good for the rookie coach. Because like this is
I feel like that dude that was on the video with the judge. He wasn't supposed to be driving.
Yeah. Oh my God, I cannot believe he answered that phone. That I'm gonna have to take that leap. I'm like, listen, I gotta park first. Now what happened? Oh, I couldn't get a signal. I was in Starbucks, whatever. Yeah. Look that up. The guy who was on a Zoom call for court, driving on a suspended license, answered his phone while driving, and then said, "Hold on, let me park over here." And the judge said, "In this suspended license case?" And his mouth was like this. But yeah, I'm like Kevin O'Connell already had established, like, okay, I can make it work with I don't want to say mediocre quarterback, but I can make it work with a mid-tier quarterback, 11 to 14. People didn't think Sam Darnold was, but I'm pretty sure like the gap between 14 and 20 it's pretty close. Like Cooper Rush on a good offense with 17 games probably can give you some good numbers, but he'll probably be about 18. I think Sam Darnold previous years probably about 18, 19. He bumps him up into the top 7 or 8, top 6 quarterbacks in the league. But he did the same thing with Kirk Cousins, and we saw what happened after that. Dan Campbell, I think people just like Detroit. I don't really think like he coached them to their victories. I think they just
turned out.
I just think that they just I think he was a likable coach. A couple of years back when they knocked Green Bay out of the playoffs, I don't know if he won Coach of the Year that year, but that would have been a year I would have given it to him. That year was like no one thought anything of the Lions. And then this guy who was biting kneecaps in the press conference ends up playing for a playoff spot, but couldn't get it because Seattle like won the tiebreaker. That would have been my year. So with that being said, I think Sean Payton having not only a rookie quarterback, but literally $40 million he couldn't spend on players because of the guy that he ran out of town or mutually parted ways.
All right.
So, I like Sean Payton there. I don't know if the voters will like it that way, but like I said, I just feel rookie quarterback. He was the last of the Mohicans of the rookie draft picks, and he turned out to be one of the most entertaining guys. And they had like their ups and downs, but I just feel Sean Payton, he did his thing this year in Denver, and he should be rewarded for it.
This award was Mike Tomlin's up until that Kansas City game. It was all his. It was all wrapped up, and they lost 4 straight games to end the season and then lost their playoff game. So he lost the award with that losing streak, in my opinion.
I don't think he was probably in it because I think the expectation was, wow, look at Mike Tomlin doing it again. I don't think it was like, oh my God, I cannot believe Mike Tomlin got this team to 500. I think it was like, damn, he's doing it again.
All right, well, maybe that was just me. So knowing me how you know me.
No. I mean, you're not a homer.
I'm not a homer.
Say Andy Reid.
So
you're gonna say Kevin O'Connell?
So in real life, I think Kevin O'Connell wins.
Okay.
If it was up to 2-5, nobody circles the wagons like the Buffalo Bills.
McDermott?
I'm taking Sean McDermott because out of all the coaches, okay, so looking at this list of the finalists, let's just look at preseason expectations first of all. So
Okay.
the Chiefs are going for a three-peat.
Yeah, Andy Reid should have been on this list.
Yeah, Dan Campbell was the feel good. I think this is the Lions' year.
But they won an NFC championship up 3 possessions last year and didn't. And could have gone back up 3 possessions if they would kick the field goal.
Right. Sean Payton, I think nobody had real expectations for Denver. So obviously you got to give them credit for that. Everything that they overcame. Their defense was a lot better than we thought it was going to be, as well as Bo Nix.
Top 5, yeah.
Dan Quinn, no expectations for Washington. People like Jaden Daniels, but I don't think most people had Washington as a playoff team. So I think that's fair.
Eric Mangini is the only one that's seen it.
Yeah. I didn't even have them in the playoffs. I didn't even have them.
Me neither.
Yeah. So Sean McDermott, Buffalo came into this year as, look at everything that they lost. They already can't beat the Chiefs. Now, and even us, we were like, oh, this is Miami's division to walk away with. This is
Miami had like all of the best weather games,
but they had the injuries. They had the Tua injuries. The
cold weather games and like the cold cities. Generally, the cold cities. Those games are early,
right?
I mean, injuries can ruin any team. So.
Yeah, but when I look at Buffalo, they were the first team to beat Kansas City this year to end the undefeated streak. They won that game at Ford Field. They were the team that had their division clinched first, probably in like week 9 or something like that. It was something ridiculous. So I just think that with everything that they lost, and we go back and look at it, that Baltimore game, I talked about it in our preview the other day, where Matt Milano, Bernard, Taron Johnson were out for that Baltimore game. They got self-destructed, they got destructed. Then you had Josh Allen, didn't make it easy, 9 for 30. I talked about
everything they lost. If I could, off the top of my head, and you can fill in, I got Stephon Diggs, Gabe Davis, right? Or was he already gone?
He was gone. He left this year, went to Jacksonville.
I don't think the cupboard was as bare for Buffalo as we thought it was. I just felt like I think the narrative surrounding Josh Allen was Stephon Diggs got you from 57% completion or 56, 57% to like 69, and he was going to be gone. But I'm like, well, he's also had like 3 or 4 years to like get other guys involved too. Like I remember my preseason pick was Josh Allen because I thought he was going to do more with less, but I didn't think it was bare.
But when you think about it,
I thought Miami just had a better schedule. I thought
but when you think about it, though, when they came into the season, they had Keon Coleman, rookie. They had. No, we did, but still rookie. You know what I mean? We had Shakir, who is a little tiny slot dude that I think is good. I think is good, but he was basically their go-to guy coming into the season. You know what I mean? You got the tight ends, so they do have that. James Cook gets a lot of touchdowns, but he was barely a top 20 rusher. Then you had Von Miller missed some time as well. They lost Poyer, who was the heart of their defense over the last couple of years. So I just felt like Buffalo started behind the 8 ball, and Josh Allen brought it up after the AFC Championship game last week, where he was like, people. I'm paraphrasing, but he was like, people said we weren't supposed to be here. Like this. It was over. So I think Sean McDermott, especially for me personally, since I was basically saying that, hey, another loss to Kansas City, you got to go. You know what I mean? So so I ain't gonna say that this weekend, but it's there. It's there.
So this makes it easy. So the 5 finalists: Campbell, O'Connell, Peyton, Quinn, Reed, Reed would be the guy you pulled out, and you would insert McDermott.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. All right. So then we got offensive rookie of the year. Oh, I'm sorry, I skipped one. We got comeback player of the year. So we got Joe Burrow, Sam Darnold, J.K. Dobbins, Christian Gonzalez, and DeMar Hamlin.
Fuck. Yeah. Okay. We're good on this one?
No, we're not good on this one. We're not good on this one.
So it's not going to be DeMar Hamlin?
I mean, in real life, it will be.
Like,
in real life, it will be.
Is Sam Darnold a comeback player? He wasn't hurt. He just sucked.
Well, this is the one that I'm giving Joe Burrow. This is the one I'm giving Joe Burrow.
He wasn't hurt for that long. He was hurt for 4 weeks.
He was hurt. He was hurt enough.
Brownie started 4 games.
That's fine. That's fine.
All right, I'm gonna say no to that. I'm gonna go DeMar Hamlin.
Okay, fair enough. You know, so I can't argue against DeMar Hamlin, even though I thought DeMar Hamlin would have been last year, right?
Yeah, I think they meant to give it to him. They were like,
they gave it to Flacco.
Yeah. Like, oh, shit.
Yeah, so I'm not giving him an award on a lifetime achievement. Like your tragedy is over. Your tragedy is over, bro. Like you died years ago.
All right, I give you that. I think this list is awful. I think it's probably like the worst list.
All right.
Yeah.
All right.
But I'll go DeMar Hamlin because they didn't get it last year. But
all right, this one. So this next award.
You got Rookie of the Year.
Yeah, Offensive Rookie of the Year. This one was the hardest for me because I try to balance it. Like, am I being a homer? Am I not being a homer? Like, hold on, but wait, hold on. So you got Jaden Daniels, Brock Bowers, Brian Thomas, Bo Nix, and Malik Neighbors.
Okay. Just like, think about this. Dan Snyder once gave Albert Haynesworth like $100 million.
And he gave Adam Archuleta a lot of money too.
He gave Dion some money. He gave Chet Bailey some money. He gave...
he drafted a quarterback that wore number 21 in college.
He gave Gus Frerotte some money and Heath Schuler some money. He settled out of court for some assault complaints, and the team was a complete disarray. Magic Johnson comes through with the magic stick, pause, and then they rebuild.
No cap, no glizzy, no glazing.
So they
shout out to
the organization in one gear. He couldn't do it with the Lakers, even though it's a sporting plays, but that's neither here nor there. They get the second overall pick, who weighs about 192 pounds, and they convert. What was the number? 20 or 23 fourth downs on
coming into the playoffs. Yeah,
coming to the playoffs, and I think they went like 3 for 4 against Detroit, or 4 for 5, something like that.
Something like that. One. They went like 1 for 3 against Tampa, though.
Yeah, it bounces out.
But anyway,
they got the turnover. I'm gonna say Jaden Daniels. I thought the award was his for a while. I thought the Hail Mary kind of propelled him in the first place. Brock Bowers' numbers breaking Mike Dicker's record with the fucking
that ain't all he did.
The collage of quarterbacks he had playing, and
bro, this award was the hardest award for me to grade.
It's
Jaden Daniels, but
it's because the organization was so. It took just drafting him. I know other pieces happened, and I don't want to like marginalize the effort of everybody else who played.
No, fuck that. It's Jaden Daniels.
Quarterbacks and everything. But simply drafting him changed. If you look at the Bears, if Caleb Williams wins 3 more games, Eberflus is in the playoffs. So just his ability and his poise. He had the rib injury that kind of slowed him down, but he still played the Hail Mary game.
The game-winning drive against Philly.
The back-to-back against Cincinnati when he threw the touchdown of Scary Terry.
Yeah.
The multiple games with no turnovers and no punts. That's unheard of for a rookie. Remember, Caleb Williams texted the rookie they drafted, the punter, and said, you're not going to get a lot of action this year. He got nothing but action. So Brock
That
Bowers
sounds
is
like I
looking.
know it's not, but that sounds like a pause just because of the
Yeah.
word.
When I said it, I thought about it, and that's why I just looked at my phone to get the rest of my notes. I like Brock Bowers. I like what he did. I like the Josh Allen aspect to his award of like doing more with less. Like he didn't have he had a coach that was pretty much on a hot seat for 6 or 7 weeks. You know, we were all looking at Pierce like, yo, dog, you're not making it. I hope you got a nice condo or something in Vegas because you're not coaching next year. Then they had Desmond Ritter, and being a Falcons fan, Desmond Ritter doesn't throw the ball downfield at all, ever. I don't care what the route calls for. It could be a wide open go route. He won't throw it. Then he had Minshew and Aiden O'Connell. I think somebody else even got some snaps in Las Vegas. So, but the fact that Jaden Daniels kind of, I won't say single handedly, but just was at the helm of this complete 180, double digit wins. Yeah.
So, bruh, this one was the hardest one for me, even though I knew the answer. So, even though I knew Jaden Daniels was the answer, this is that perfect EPR scenario. Like everybody looks great.
Guys deserve a
vote now.
We only got one.
So you brought up Brock Bowers breaking Mike Dicker's record, right? Correct. So he broke most receptions by a rookie tight end, most receiving yards by a rookie tight end. He broke Puka Nakua's rookie reception record in NFL history. NFL history, I said. His season was the third most catches of a tight end ever. Zach Ertz is number one with 116. Evan Ingram, 114. And Brock Bowers was at 112. That's receptions for a tight end total in a season.
Let's throw Lad McConkey in there.
Yeah, he could have got in this conversation, but he started too late, I think. But
Darius McConkey, that's what he
said. But check it. You got Brian Thomas, right?
Correct.
You know, most receiving yards by a rookie. First Jaguar,
like 1,107 yards or
something right? Like that. Yeah. First Jaguar rookie over 1,000 yards. Most 100-yard games by this year of rookies, as far as receiving goes. 11 games this season over 75 yards, which is a record for rookies. Then you look at Malik Neighbors, 109 receptions.
Most by a rookie.
So he was second to Brock Bowers in receptions as of the rookies this year, and he missed 2 games. And he had Daniel Jones, Danny DeVito, Andrew Locke, but check it out. This is the craziest part of it. I said he had 109 catches, right? He had 170 targets.
Catch rate's not high.
That's what hurt him. And then of course, Bo Nix just did the damn thing. Like, I didn't have many expectations for him, and he came in and set the AFC on fire. But I do have a snub.
That game against New Orleans, I watched. Granted, I didn't think New Orleans was that good of a team. I think that was the first game.
Falcon fans everywhere should be saying Bo Nix.
Like, just watching Bo Nix in that game, I was like, because that's when Jaden had like a couple of games post rib, and I was like, I think he could steal it. And then Jaden just has like some super dynamic 275-yard, 300-yard passing game, 2 touchdowns, 85 yards rushing. It was like, okay. And then he had the spectacular plays, whereas Bo Nix was like, I'm not making a single mistake.
Yeah. But I do have a snub. You know what I'm saying? Because, I love my rookies. I brought up this guy early, during the season, preseason, and I was talking about how I thought this guy was going to be the truth once he gets his opportunity. And that man goes by the name of Bucky Irvin. For the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. So he had 1,122 yards, 5.4 yards per carry. He finished 7th. He finished 10th in rushing this year in the whole NFL, and that was with Rashard White getting 144 carries. So he was sharing the ball, and that was with Sean Tucker, who had a game that was 135 yards as a rookie as well. So I think Bucky, not that he should win or anything, but I think he could have been in the conversation. I'm going with Jaden Daniels, but I do think that outside of Jaden being obvious, this was very tough.
They always, and I remember watching playoff games every year. We talked about the MVP, and I believe the same thing in the NBA. The MLB kind of just goes with like the guy who has the best stats. It's pretty simple. But we'll watch the first round of the playoffs, and these guys who are prospective rookies, defensive player of the years, MVPs, and they go out like Lamar went out last weekend. I really hope, like these votes are in before the playoffs start.
Right. Don't be trying to change your mind based on what happened in the playoffs. Later, right.
But if the votes are in and they're counted and someone has a sealed envelope or the briefcase with the handcuff to the wrist and they're carrying this information around, then I think it works in their favor. Because Jaden Daniels definitely would have skyrocketed.
Yeah.
If you watch, if you had to get your results in by February 1st, he'd be the only name on the ballot.
Right. And then finally, we'll close it off with Defensive Rookie of the Year. This one was another tough one as well. So you got Jared Verse, Braden Fisk, shout out to Florida State, Quinyon Mitchell, Chop Robinson, Cooper DeJean.
I think Cooper just was like the Jackie Robinson selection. I'm not really sure because he didn't start for a while.
Yeah.
I think Riley Moss in Denver had a pretty good season as a white cornerback. I think even Green Bay had a white corner. They all wore long sleeves except for Cooper.
Mm-hmm.
Like I watched is like they wear long sleeves. Like don't target me, but don't sleep on me either. Because Riley Moss did the same thing. He's wearing long sleeves and it was warm. But Rookie of the Year. I love Braden Fisk and Jared Verse. I love how draft day they were trying to get Jared to the facility so he could call Braden, but it didn't work out. Then he got there and they put him on the phone. It was like a very just joyous moment. If you guys want to YouTube, it was like pure joy. Like man, he's like, I love playing with you, man.
It was like a TV show.
It was like if the NFL had a script. Wink. But it was pretty dope. Oh, my monitor's going off.
So this one was tough for me as well. So I'm gonna just go ahead and cut out Cooper DeJean right off top because I got a snub.
Okay.
And without the sake of being a homer, and I don't know how I could be a homer because I got two Florida State players here, Mike Sanastrell should have been in this. Best corner on the team already as a rookie.
And would have returned a couple of punts for touchdowns. I can see it. But I think what he was just I think he just was solid. I think he was better than people thought he would be, even though there was a lot of hype around him being the first starting white corner since Jason Sehorn.
Mm-hmm.
I think he just played well. I think that the play against Derrick Henry where he got the scoop on him, the little man move when you get low and do the scoop. I think that propelled him. I like Jared Verse. I like the way he handled the Philly fans. I like how he owned the fact that he said, I'm sick of Philly fans. And then after the game was like, I really respect them. They hold it down for their team. I don't really fuck with them. But I respect them.
Right.
I like how he took that on because a lot of young guys don't. Like my oldest son will be 23 this year. So it's like to think about him if he were to go into an NFL stadium this weekend talking about I don't fuck with the Commanders and he goes out there and he has to play the middle linebacker. Like it just for him to have that kind of gumption, that kind of gall, I really like it. I really like what they're doing in LA, I like their draft picks. I like it for football because I think that because we talked about Sean McVay maybe leaving and Stafford maybe leaving. I think if you look like, well, we have a 2025, 2026 defense that can make a run. So long as you like Matt Stafford didn't go into the season, I don't think he requires any surgeries. If he could just chill, rest, rehab, and be ready to go for the season, I could see the future's bright for the Rams. So I'm gonna go with Jared Verse
Okay.
as my defensive rookie of the year.
Knowing me how you know me,
You're going with Chop Robinson, the Miami Dolphins linebacker.
I'm going with Jared Verse. So as I look at this, Braden Fisk led rookies in sacks with 8.5. Chop had 6. He also had 14 quarterback hits, 4 pass defenses, and those 6 sacks were second. Quinyon Mitchell has an argument if you're just looking at it from the standpoint of shutting down a side of the field and just actual play without stats, just actual play. He has an argument that you can make. Jared Verse had 36 tackles, 4.5 sacks, 2 forced fumbles, and the second most pressures by a rookie of all time. 77 pressures, finishing behind Maga Bosa, who had 80 in his rookie year. So, so I'm going with Jared Verse because while Braden leads in sacks, I like the pressures because that just means that you're making the quarterback uncomfortable. Even if you don't get the sack, you force the errant throw.
Out of that 77, you probably forced 34 incomplete passes.
Maybe 3 or 4 interceptions, maybe. Yeah, I'm going with Jared Verse. So there you have it.
That should be a stat that they track.
See that, and that's crazy too, because out of all those, that's the only one that we agreed on.
That's the beauty.
Oh, and Jaden Daniels. We did agree on Jaden Daniels.
Yeah.
All right. So of course, this weekend.
Real quick. I got a snub for assistant of the year. Steve Spagnuolo wasn't nominated for assistant coach of the year.
Oh, okay. Who's your assistant of the year then? Since we own it,
Steve Spagnuolo.
Oh,
okay. We watch the Kansas City games. The offense is Mahomes, Reed, Nagy, Old Bieniemy, Kelsey. Like they're in the huddle. Spags over there is him and Chris Jones. Like, yo, what you want to do? I want to arrest the, you got that lisp and shit. I want to arrest the pass the coach. You know what I'm saying? So I wouldn't say it to his face because he's.
I think Ben Johnson is probably going to win it. Like in real life, I think Ben Johnson's going to win it.
You would, if you made that argument, because like I said, Spags not even on the list. Johnson will get credit for the offense putting up points in an offensive league. Spags was taking points away from teams every week with his scheme. The block field goal against Denver,
he ain't the special teams coach.
I'm just saying, just like those, because they put starters out there. They put starting defensive players on there. It's like Mike Pennell, Chris Jones out there sometimes. You got Karlaftis. You have defensive starters on the field goal block. Then you have the game against Cincinnati when they forced a fumble. Everyone talks about the pass completion, a pass interference and everything else. Well, Spags drew up the play to where they stripped the ball from Joe Burrow, scooped it up, scored a touchdown. So I just felt like Mahomes didn't look like himself for the first few games. I think it was 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions overall, and they were still undefeated. Name another team in NFL football where their starting quarterback, who you lean on because he is the catalyst of your team, goes 6 touchdowns, 8 interceptions, 4 or 5 weeks into the year, you're still undefeated.
Well, I will. So the finalists for that award: Joe Brady, Vic Fangio, Brian Flores, Aaron Glenn, and Ben Johnson. So I will see your snub, and I will raise you a Cliff Kingsbury.
I want to argue it, but I like it.
I mean, you gotta figure out that defense, the secondary.
A lot of games, like I said, 0 turnovers, 0 punts.
Mm-hmm.
That's his play calling.
Yeah.
They went for a lot on 4th down where they should have punted.
Probably, what I'm saying, but I don't know. So I don't know why Aaron Glenn's name is there, but that's a whole nother conversation for another
Brian
day.
Flores had a good run at the beginning of the year, but I think
It
a
fell
lot of
apart.
games towards the end of the year, there was a lot of 26-point games, 27.
Yeah, it fell apart. I mean, they gave up 29 to Jordan Love the first game back from his injury.
Yeah.
So after this weekend, we will know who is playing in the Super Bowl. So we're going to start with the NFC, Mr. Logical, where the Washington Commanders are going up to the Link right down the road from you to get some fried bird.
$650 for standing room only tickets.
Yeah. So who wins?
Sunday, 3:00, early game, should sell out. DC's that region, that area is only about an hour or so from the stadium, not far. So I think it'll be a lot of fans, both sides. I think Philly can control the clock better. And it's not me picking against Washington. It's me picking the formula to win a football game. I think Philly's ability to control the clock, very similar to what I said against the Rams last week. Now, if they just would have handed the ball off to Saquon on that second down instead of calling that silly-ass bootleg in the snow to the left with your right-handed quarterback, so he has to try to plant his Jordans in the snow and the hard Pennsylvania frozen grass underneath to throw a pass to the tight end, end up getting a sack, and now it's 3rd and 17. I think you give the ball to Saquon 3 times in a row there. At a minimum, you get it to 4th and 1, and they're burning timeouts, and you're getting a decent punt out of it. But from 3rd and 17, that was a bad move. But like I said, I think Philly's ability to lean on the run, like I said, it's going to cost them A.J. Brown. Winning Super Bowl, losing Super Bowl, whatever the case may be. But I think they advance from Philly to New Orleans to play, to be a determined team in I believe it's the Caesars Superdome.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I got Philly. Not, like I said, it's not a slight to Washington. It's just that I think that Philly will be able to control the clock. I think Saquon breaks one, maybe not 2 60-yarders, but I can see a 40. I see a 40-yard touchdown run. I can see a bunch of 17 to 20-yard runs, like 2 or 3 of those. I can just see like that jump cut. The jump cut's aggressive, and I believe that Philly looks for a certain look for the run game, whereas a lot of teams look for a certain look to check to a certain pass play. I think Philly, because people talk about that play when he scored that touchdown in the snow, that long run in the snow where Jalen Hurts checked. He checked to that run play based off where the safety was. Most people check to a pass play off of that. But Philly's like, I'm going to check to this run play because I know if this guy isn't here, Saquon's gone. That's, to me, that I think that's going to be the difference. Because I think that's easy. I think that's easier in offense to run. It's not good for your wide receiver, though.
How dare you pick Philadelphia?
Because you're going to pick them, too.
When you know I'm picking Philadelphia. We had this conversation 3 weeks ago. We had a conversation. It started like, hey, what team are you most confident is going to get to the Super Bowl? And my answer was Philadelphia. For a lot of the same reasons that you said. But I'll also throw in there, I think that Philadelphia can win this game in more ways than Washington can. Like, I think Washington needs a very specific recipe, that forces turnovers. They have to get Philly into some kind of shootout, and make Jalen Hurts have to try to match Jaden Daniels. But Philly's defense is too good to allow that to happen.
I mean, we talked about Detroit's defense being a little depleted, but they were still a good defense.
Mm-hmm. And then
I think Washington does have a chance. I don't believe it's going to be like Philly running over
No.
Washington.
I don't think it's
I
like
think
that.
it's just gonna be.
I think it's going to
You
look
got
more like
60
the
minute
first game.
game. I got 34 minutes time of possession of 26, something like that.
Well, I think it's going to look more like the first matchup than the second matchup. So in the second matchup, the first matchup was the Thursday night football, Guantanamo Bay. That's where that started because Terry McLaurin got held, one catch for 10 yards. But the second meeting, first quarter, Philly, 21-7. And then something monumental happened. Jalen Hurts got hurt. Washington wins the fourth quarter, 22-6. In that game, don't let it fool you. Yes, Jaden Daniels had 5 touchdowns. He also threw 3 interceptions in that game. So even the game that they figured out Philly, they didn't really figure out Philly. Rookie quarterbacks, 0-4 in conference championship games since the year 2000. And contrary to what Mr. Logical said, they lose those games by an average of 15 points. So the only real question that I have is how hurt is Jalen Hurts? Because I know they were talking PCL strain.
He looks a little hobbled.
Yeah, he looks a little hobbled. So that could favor Washington somewhat. But then that balances out because Sam Cosmi is out for the season now. The right guard got hurt against Detroit last week. So now you're talking about Philly feasting on a backup guard. That's where I think it gets a little crazy now because you're going to have to probably run Jaden a little more than you probably want to, more than you probably need to. It's almost similar to what I was saying about Riley Leonard. When you can manipulate the game and take advantage of spots to have Jaden run, Washington can be unstoppable at times. But when he has to run due to duress, that's going to cause problems. Yeah. Washington
looking at the weather doesn't seem like it's going to have an impact. It's 0 chance precipitation. Kickoff 3:00 is looking like 38 degrees. A little cloudy, so a little overcast, probably a little chilly, but no precipitation. So I don't think the weather is going to factor into it. I can't imagine going to throw a lot of passes in that cold weather.
And that's the beautiful thing that Philly has.
But no precipitation. They don't have to. So.
Yeah, they don't have to. But Washington, in the regular season, right, gave up 137.5 rushing yards per game. Mr. Logical, Detroit just ran for 201 last week.
Didn't feel like it.
And you going up against Saquon Barkley, right? I don't know.
Wasn't like 60 of it on that reverse.
Yeah, you take that away, that's still like 140. That's still more than this. That's still more than their regular season average.
Yeah, but they have 2 good running backs in Detroit. And they have a good offense.
And
you make timely interceptions, and those numbers count for nothing.
The one thing that Washington does have going for them, besides Jaden Daniels, is that you ready for this one? I've been working on this one. Confidence is the musk of winners. Washington's coming into this game 7 straight. This is a chance for Frankie Louvu to take over a game. I imagine he's going to be the one keeping his eye on Jalen Hurts. I expect a lot of play action from Philadelphia and probably some Dallas Goedert in the flats. He did say that he was going to play, so I'm rolling with he's going to play. So
an eagle alive witnessed this game.
Yeah, and so the thing is that Philly's been allowed to be subpar in the passing game because of how dominant their run is. But to my point earlier, if Jalen Hurts has to throw to win the game, can Washington even stop him?
That's the thing. I don't think that they even care to throw the ball.
Yeah, the only way that they will throw the ball is if they slow Saquon down, and they're not going to slow Saquon down.
That Carolina game that they won. They won that Carolina game, and A.J. Brown was in the locker room, and he said passing. And I think he came out the next week. He threw him a couple of touchdowns. I just don't feel – I think as the season went on, they just kind of figured like, Saquon is the human cheat code. Mm-hmm. And we're going to use that. Like I said, last week. We're going to run Jalen on some RPOs where he gets 4 yards and slides. Don't get hit. 3 yards and slide, 4 yard slide, gets 6, maybe 10. Then he broke one for 44 yards for a touchdown. So it was like, I think they're good running that we hold the ball, we win offense.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is if you turn the ball over, say you get an early, silly turnover. And Washington gets the ball first, kicks a field goal. Now you're 3rd and 11 because they're selling out to stop the run. A.J. Brown's not really filling the route. He doesn't run it as aggressive as he should. Ball gets tipped in the air. And now you have a repeat of last week to where Washington's running down the right sideline, ball in hand. Now you're up 10-0. I think a situation like that, they hopefully, for my pick to make sense, A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, Goddard, Jalen Hurts, Sirianni, Kellen Moore, they got to be on the same page. Like, listen, these are going to be the plays we're going to make. You obviously saw A.J. Brown's not ecstatic with his role. You can't afford to have any kind of mental separations on the sideline. It has to be a cohesive group. So I don't know how Kellen Moore does that because he was in Dallas, and the knock on Dallas in that time was they seem to fall apart in the big moments. And we already have this build-up. If I seen it as a novice fan, pseudo sports journalist with my retired friend that I've known for 12 years. It's like who I was deployed with in 2003 didn't know, which is funny. If we can recognize this, it has to be recognized in the building.
Right.
So
I'm taking Washington to cover. The Eagles are favored by 6. Over under is 47.5.
So you're looking.
I think it goes slightly under. So I'm going 24-20 Philadelphia.
24-20 gets you your 44 and your cover.
This is my favorite part of the show always.
Yeah. I'm thinking about that. I'm confident in Philly because as a logical thinker, I think you're just going to run the ball. You figure out, how we talked about Baltimore, you need to give it to Derrick Henry 20 times.
Right.
No matter what, he'll pop one. You got to think about it. He popped one for 87 yards in your first matchup. For some reason, Monken went away from that. Blows my mind. If I had radio contact to his ear, I'm like, yo, just run that same play to the left. It's not working to the right. Just run it to the left. I just have a feeling that Washington's playing with house money. Philly's playing with the house load of expectations on their shoulders. So as a fan, if you would have picked them, I wouldn't have been like, you being a homer. But like I said, as a logical thinker, I imagine the game plan is going to be a lot of 14, a lot of 26, a lot of 1, not a lot of 11, and a lot of 88. So I'm going to take Philly. We got 28-22 last week. The kicker seems to be flaky. I heard a stat this week on Barstool that the Eagles are 4-0 when Jake Elliott misses an extra point in the playoffs.
That's nuts.
It's a strange stat. 30-24 Philly.
Okay. So then we head over to Arrowref Stadium. We got the Kansas City Chiefs as a 2-point favorite with an over-under of 48.5.
48.
Do the refs get their three-peat attempt? The Chiefs. Do the Chiefs get their three-peat attempt?
I went and before I went to my son's game, I went to this place called Pudgy's. It's like a little sports bar on base. I went and grabbed some wings, had a drink before my son's game, and I was watching the AFC Championship game when it was Cincinnati versus KC in Arrowhead. Not the one that Cincinnati won, the one where Mahomes got hit out of bounds.
Mm-hmm.
And I was thinking, like, is this the game where they had the third down play happen and then the refs brought him back out because they were like, oh, the other ref wasn't in position or something like that?
Mm-hmm.
Something was wrong and they had to replay it, and Zach Taylor was going ape on the sideline. And that's when I text you, I'm like, Kansas City does get a lot of calls. They get a lot of calls, and it's strange. And I don't know if they get a lot of calls because it's confirmation bias, because I'm watching replays of their games. I'm getting Twitter clips because we talked about the Kansas, like not me and you talked about it. I didn't see anybody else talk about the pass interference call on Tre'Davious White against Keon Coleman before halftime against Buffalo and Baltimore. I'm like, that wasn't pass interference.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whereas if that was, you know, Xavier Worthy and insert Buffalo DB right now, we're gonna get clips before they stop showing the replay on TV. Somebody in our sports group is gonna have a Twitter clip of it saying, "Here they go again." But the thing that Kansas City does is that they don't seem to falter. They lose games. They lost to Buffalo. They lost that game last year, you know, to the Raiders. It just seems like they don't fall apart when the snowball looks like it's about to roll down the hill. The second half, Baltimore Buffalo gives me concern because they only got 6 points. Stopped a lot. Josh Allen doesn't get sacked a lot, but something's got to give. He doesn't turn the ball over. He doesn't get sacked. But we talked about his weapons earlier, and I just feel like the Chiefs are going to make one or two of the plays that makes it a 10-point game,
Mm-hmm.
and it's going to feel like Buffalo feels it as if they're down 20. I have a feeling like 6.5 minutes left in the second, KC's going to kick a field goal to go up 13-3. Something simple, insurmountable, but they're going to be getting the ball at the halftime. And Buffalo's going to press and make a mistake. Kansas City might not capitalize. You know, it'll be a punt, bad play call, reverse, some kind of something's going to go wrong to where Kansas City's going to get the ball back. They might not score. They haven't been doing that much this year. A lot of championship teams, one of the things, I know Tom Brady was huge on this in his career, was trying to score in the last 2 minutes of the half or going into halftime, especially if you're getting the ball back. But scoring going into halftime is a big deal. It's a momentum shift. I just have a feeling like Kansas City's going to get up 10 points, 17-7, 13-3, something like that. And Buffalo's going to press. And then Kansas City's probably get a field goal out of it. They'll still only be up 2 possessions. But Buffalo's going to play the game like they're down 3 possessions. They're going to go for it on 4th and 3 when they should just kick the field goal to go down 10. Kick the field goal, be down 10. from the, you know, we're going to go 4th and 2 from the 11.
Yeah.
Kick the field goal, and you'll be down 17-10. Just kick the field goal, be down. No, 20. It'll be like 20-7 or something like that because Kansas City get the field goal. It'll be something like that, and they'll go for points. Or no, they'll go for the first down on 4th down. Won't get it. Kansas City's going to come back, get a field goal. Kansas City's not going to get a bunch of explosive plays. They're just going to make you think that 3 points or a punt's not good enough, and the final score is going to be something along the lines of, you know, 27-17.
See, as I was thinking about this game, the one word that kept coming into my head was psychology. You know, as a Florida State fan, all I have in my head every single year, you know, Florida State could be 8-0, Miami could be 1-7. Wide right is all I hear. It's all I hear. So I made this comparison a couple of weeks ago. I said that if Josh Allen can get to Kansas City, this is his Michael Jordan Detroit Piston moment.
The Isaiah Thomas walking off the court early moment.
Yeah. Okay. So he's 0-3 in the playoffs against them, but 4-4 overall. So in the regular season, he does just fine. Then I saw something today that Josh Allen and Patrick Mahomes are the two quarterbacks with the lowest interception rate in the playoffs. So you can't expect a turnover from one of those two. So the turnovers have to come from somewhere else.
There's gonna be turnover on downs.
Is this
that's what honestly, that's what I think that's gonna change. The game's gonna change.
So then the second thing that popped into my head was Sweet Caroline. But instead of Caroline, it was Destiny. As the great Nasir bin Aludara Jones said, it was written. It's time to circle some wagons. So look, they played a couple of weeks ago. That game just happened to be in Orchard Park. In that game, Buffalo, 71 total plays, Kansas City, 52. This is the problem, though, for Buffalo. In that game, Kansas City on 17 rushing attempts, 4.6 yards per carry. Buffalo on 31 attempts, 3.4 yards per carry. So you got to establish a run game. You got to get these tight ends out in the flats, just like I was talking about Dallas Goedert. You got to give Josh Allen those safety valves, and you got to eat clock. You don't need to try to get down the field quick and put the ball back.
Once again, like I said,
but
down 10-3, down 13-3.
Right, but that's the thing. That's where I was about to go.
Here on that corner route looks good until McDuffie knocks it down.
But see, I think the game goes the other way.
You think Kansas City presses?
I think Buffalo gets up a little bit early. Something like maybe 13-7. Nothing extravagant, but something like 13-7. And I think as the game goes on, Kansas City's calm and collected. The little engine that could, they're moving the ball down the field. They take a late lead, say with 4 minutes left. They take their first lead of the game. That's when we get the answer about Buffalo.
That's your 20-16 lead.
Something along those lines. Yeah, that's when you get your Buffalo answer of, you got to lose yourself in the moment. You own it, all that good stuff.
Andrews was open a lot against Buffalo.
He was.
People talk about the play call, like the penalties against Houston, but Travis Kelce had 7 catches, 120-something yards. He hadn't had an output like that all year.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're running the same, granted, Matt Milano is not going to be spying Patrick Mahomes.
Right.
But maybe he should every once in a while because Pat will take off on you. Granted, he ran a 4.8 40. He's not the most nimble guy. He runs like he stole candy. So like
okay.
Like he's just running like, oh, no one see me? Oh, I made it out the store. Oh, I'm at the car. Oh. So if they don't put the spy on, because it looked like they were doing a lot of man coverage against Baltimore. Maybe that's because they didn't have Zay Flowers and they didn't respect the passing game. I think likely probably was like their biggest passing threat, and they figured Andrews doesn't move as well as likely, so they'll man up him and maybe bracket because Mark Andrews was getting a lot of targets. He had the one bounce off his chest, and then Lamar fumbled in the next play. So if they play this game any way similar to how Houston played Travis Kelce, it's going to be a problem. Worthy had a great catch against Houston last week. It was like he snatched it over the shoulder. He's good for one of those kind of splash plays. And it just depends on when he gets it. Especially we can go ahead and put it in the books. I'm not just saying like the refs are in it, but Kansas City is going to get a call that's going to be legit, a defensive holding call. The problem is it's going to be like 3rd and 9 on an incomplete pass, and it's going to be a holding on the left side of the field, and Mahomes is looking right the whole time, like to one of those 3 tight ends running like a corner route, and someone's going to hold Hollywood Brown on the backside, and they're going to extend the drive. They're going to get points out of it. Everyone's going to be dejected. It's going to be like, oh, here we go again. The fans are going to, then the Kansas City fans are going to be rabid on the sidelines. They're going to be getting in the heads of the Buffalo's players because they're not wearing earmuffs.
Right. So, Buffalo, this is what I want you to do. Whoever the defensive captain of that team is, I'm assuming it's Matt Milano or Von Miller.
Yeah.
Whoever you're dating, whoever you're married to, whoever just has some free time. We are wearing black T-shirts under our jersey that says all it takes is 13 seconds.
You want the Buffalo Bills to rehash the 13 seconds?
I do. I want them to know that no matter
how that
great
worked
we
for
play,
Miami with their 24 and meeting the 8-24 and meeting
I
the 9-24.
want them to know that no matter how great we play, if that man has the ball in his hand with 13 seconds left, we need to be on our shit. You know what I mean?
I think that puts you in the situation that Houston dealt with last week because you're so focused on the refs beating you that you're not focused on home. Kansas City, I'm not saying
I'm picking Buffalo to win.
I'm picking Kansas City to win simply because, like I said, I didn't like Buffalo's second half against Baltimore. I figured the 3 turnovers that they got against the 3 turnovers that Baltimore gave Buffalo were so damning to momentum that they should have capitalized on each one of them. Mm-hmm. And they didn't, to the point where I wouldn't say Buffalo needed a drop, but the ball hit Lamar's favorite target in both hands. Even
that only takes it to overtime, though. That doesn't win it.
I'm not saying it doesn't. It does better than a kneel down.
No, definitely.
It gives you that because you can think about it. Buffalo only had 6 points in the second half, and they got the ball coming out. So they got the touchdown at the end of the half. They had all the momentum from the 2 first half turnovers. They got the ball coming out, and defense step up. They didn't get points. I'm not saying they got stuffed. I
think in that game, Buffalo played Charger ball. Like we're just gonna play football. And you're going to make the mistakes instead of us. Buffalo has the least turnovers in the league on the season.
But now, even at Andrews' catch, he was wide open.
I know.
The drop, he was wide open.
I know. And you don't think Sean McDermott has been hitting that home all week?
Bateman on that deep post. Bateman hasn't been open on deep post routes multiple times in a game.
I know.
I watch a lot.
I know, but that's what I'm saying. You don't think Sean McDermott's been hitting that all week?
Don't you? Okay, I can imagine that he did, but it looked like if they play the way they played defensively against Kansas City, and I know you're not a big Hollywood Brown fan, but I just imagine I got Kelsey underneath, I got D-Hop in those power forward jump ball situations. However, they throw it back shoulder for a 3rd and 8, or
they had all that in Orchard Park too.
They didn't have the Hollywood Brown.
Well, they didn't have Hollywood Brown, but they still had Worthy, who couldn't keep his foot in bounds on that one catch.
They didn't have Pacheco.
They don't need Pacheco. Kareem Hunt's good enough. Stop trying to suck up to him.
Pause. No,
we said what we said.
A healthy Pacheco gives you. We've seen so many times he gets hit at the 26-yard line, and he just keeps driving, and he gets you to 29. Now,
I'll see your Pacheco and raise you a Ray Davis.
I'm not. Listen, I'll give you that, but how often is Josh Allen going to give the ball to Ray Davis inside the 10 versus Patrick Mahomes getting the ball to Pacheco inside the 10?
I don't know. We're going to have to find out, but I'm going Buffalo. 27-23.
I'm going old boring rematch of Kansas City and Philly in the Super Bowl in New Orleans. Like I said, it's like my pick is, like I said, it's predicated on the whole the Brady conundrum of teams not thinking 3 points is good enough. They've done it against Kansas City forever. It's at home. Mahomes isn't coming off an injury. I think they play
But see,
well
I think
against.
that's better for Buffalo. I think it's better for Buffalo that it's at Arrowhead.
You don't think those crazy fans slamming themselves through chairs all around Orchard Park?
Well,
Would be better?
after they're done taking a break from being racist, I think that it'll be one of
That'll
those.
never happen.
I think it'll be one of those things that if you were at home, you almost have more of an expectation to win. Like, you know what I mean? Like your fans are believing a little bit more because it's at home. You lost there last year. There's no way they're going to lose 2 years in a row at home to this team. You know what I'm saying? You go to Kansas City, I think the pressure to some degree shifts back to Kansas City.
Depends on when they got there. So today is Friday. So if you're a player, and because I don't know if they are at their actual houses until like Thursday or Friday, and then Friday night they check into a hotel. So I imagine if you are flying out, you get everybody. You enjoy your family Monday, Tuesday. You get everybody on a plane. You get them out to Kansas City Wednesday. The weather looks like it's going to be normal 30, 30 degrees, so nothing crazy. No precipitation there in Kansas City as well. So it's going to be a cold football game. It's going to be a cold football game. So if you get guys there Wednesday, Thursday, they get into their routine where they're just in the hotels doing their meetings, and it doesn't feel like a home game where like the pressure's built. Like, listen, we're on the road. It is what it is, but it's me and my brothers here. We're teaming up. We're gonna figure out a game plan. We're gonna beat this guy. I just feel like Kansas City, they do everything. They do all the small things just a little bit better than everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
They don't do the spectacular better than anybody else like they used to. Like they used to do the Tyreek Hill 200 yards in the first half better. They do the gang tackle strip of the running back better. They do the this guard's pulling. We're gonna send the guy through this gap, and Brock Purdy has to throw the ball early kind of move. They do that better. I don't know what happened with the Raiders, why they snapped the ball early. They make I think they just make in-game adjustments a little better because I believe ultimately the defense believes if it's in a possession and we get the ball back, our guy's going to do whatever he has to do. I haven't seen him fall short in that situation yet. I'm pretty sure it's happened maybe in a regular season game where they were down 24-20.
Yeah, but what, 7 straight AFC Championship games that don't happen much. I
just haven't seen it in the playoffs. Yeah, so,
don't happen much. So,
Buffalo's up 24-20 with 4 minutes left, and Mahomes gets the ball. At the
Josh
20.
Allen. If I could be like Mike, if I could be like Mike. So, Mr. Logical.
Yeah.
I heard a rumor.
Let's hear it.
Jimmy Butler to the Suns. Bradley Beal to the Bucks. Chris Middleton to the Heat. Maybe potentially with Bobby Portis. And looking for a fourth team that could end up being the Chicago Bulls to send Levine somewhere.
And then Zach LaVine.
I don't.
One of these three?
Yeah, I just don't remember where it would be, though.
To the Suns?
No, it wouldn't be the Suns.
Right? It would be Milwaukee, right?
It would probably have to be, but I don't think you would get Beal and Levine. That's weird. So we'll come back to that. But the first three is the deal that is allegedly on the table, and the Bulls are rumored to be the fourth team.
I saw Memphis rumor for Jimmy Butler.
I did see Memphis as well. That came out today. Like it was talked about early, but I don't think it was viewed as realistic at the time. But now that we're heading down the road and look, Jimmy Butler suspended again.
He missed the plane, right?
He missed the plane to Milwaukee. So, all right,
that's petty. I get it. I get that you want to trade, but it's like, dog. I've only missed one play in my life, and that's because I was drinking heavily.
No, this is my problem, Mr. Logical. The problem with these athletes, because I know you're Mr. I don't know why we do the athletes like this and why.
I'm more pro athlete,
I
yes.
am more pro athlete too, but in a situation like this, it makes me sick to my stomach that Jimmy Butler is going to be a dick for like 2.5 months or whatever it is, and he's still going to get what he wants in the end.
The thing is, and I give you that, he wants out.
No, he wants a very specific out.
Just give him. He doesn't have no trade clause
because these players know he doesn't have a no trade clause.
Then get him out of Dodge.
But the problem is, just like when Anthony Davis was on the market. Remember, they were like, "Oh, Boston wants Anthony. Oh, he ain't going to sign an extension there." It's already out there that Phoenix is the only team that he's going to sign an extension with.
Then send him to Phoenix, and when they don't make the playoffs, and Miami does, well, I mean, fuck, 20 teams make the playoffs.
Maybe.
Then they're not gonna make. Just, I look at it like this. I'm one of these people where I value my peace more than I hate your peace.
Okay. I like that.
So, I'm sick of suspending you, dealing with you, writing whatever, because I imagine that it comes with some level of arbitration, paying an auditor, paying a lawyer.
Well, when it's all said and done with these suspensions, he's going to lose $3.1 million.
And dealing with all this stuff and figure out how I get that money back and where I take it from. I just don't want to have. I don't want, like, tonight after we do this show, I'm gonna go downstairs. I might watch a little something on Netflix. Come up here, brush my hair, put on my do-rag, and go to sleep. I don't want to have to deal with like a drunk ass friend that needs a ride, and they gotta call me, and I gotta get dressed, and I gotta go there and deal with them and pick them up. Even though, like, listen, I'm your friend. I get it. We're connected because we're friends. I don't have to deal with that. So if I'm the Miami organization, I don't have to deal with it. So let me go ahead, square your way, get you an Uber, get you to where you want to be. Because I don't want to be driving all around town trying to figure out where you are, where you want to go, what you want to do, you want to eat, you're gonna throw up, I gotta stop. I don't want to deal with all of that. I want my peace more than I dislike your peace. So you want to go to Phoenix? Hey, Phoenix, I got a guy. He want to come there. What do we need to make this deal happen so I can get some peace in mind for the remainder of the season? Right now, January through the end of April, because you're not gonna mend that. You're not gonna mend that wound. You're not gonna rebuild that bridge. That ship is sailed. Like you said, like Meek Mill said, niggas that burn a bridge expect you to send a yacht. It ain't gonna happen. Just go ahead. Once again, 2 episodes in a row, put your dicks away and just fucking make the deal happen to where you don't have to deal with it. The dick measuring contest, like
no
all this
glizzies.
ego and everything. Yeah.
So we're 13 days away from the trade deadline. So, this
they will be a fool to push this out. And it would be the sign of an immature organization to push it out, or an egotistical organization to push it out.
Talking about Pat Riley.
Even like, that's the thing. You're going to be the only one with egg on your face because your team isn't going to get any better.
Even with Bradley Beal, if he ends up there,
even if you suspend him,
damn sure ain't getting better with Chris Middleton.
I don't think you can legally suspend him for the rest of the year. So you make him inactive, a la John Wall, or what they did with Al Horford when they were trying to trade him. But Anthony Davis,
well, he was still in uniform and everything, though. Yeah,
they were playing him 20 minutes, which was stupid. It's like, you could have just made the trade. You're not. The player's ultimately going to win because the player drives everything else. Like, I saw something on I think it was the 560 podcast with no, I think it was a different podcast, but it was Spencer Dinwiddie, and he was talking about his time in Brooklyn with D'Angelo Russell. He was like, he's like, as a skill wise, we're probably comparable, but he's the number 2 overall pick. He's the reason a lot of these people are coming in here to watch a basketball game. Mm-hmm. So you got Luka in Dallas. A lot of people are coming there to watch him play the game. he's paying all of our bills by being available. And I think sometimes the leadership thinks like, oh, I brought you here. It's like, yeah, but no one's coming to the game to see Pat Riley do shit. No one's buying Pat Riley suits to come to the game. They're buying Tyler Hero
I'm
jerseys.
down to see Pat Riley lick his hand and smack Jimmy Butler in the back of the head.
Yeah, so like they're buying Bam Adebayo jerseys. Like they're buying the players' jersey.
Tyler Hero.
You have your position. It's not. It's not. You're not this guy's deity. You're his employer, and he doesn't want to be employed by you anymore. You figure it out. Like I said, I think missing a plane is stupid. He could at least catch the plane. My hamstring's tight. And you're inactive. You're a healthy scratch, or you're inactive for the game. You hang out in Milwaukee. You talk to Giannis. You figure out what's going on. You talk to the people in the building. You see what you like. Maybe you shake the owner's hand for the Milwaukee Bucks.
All right. So then, real quick, since we're running out of time here, this is Rivals Week in the NBA. Not to be confused with Rivalry Week, but I wanted to. The other day, I had texted you. Saying you ignored me, but I was like, yo, you want to play a game? And
I saw that. I thought I responded to it. I was like,
I don't think you did. But anyway, the game that I wanted to play was, if you're creating Rivals Week or whatever in the NBA, what rivalry has to happen? Like what games or plural, what games have to happen?
I like Denver OKC just because of Russ. But I think they love Russ in OKC.
17-5 as a starter with Russ.
I think Russ will retire, and I think they'll put that 0 in the rafters for OKC. I think they'll do it before they put 35 up.
Oh, easily.
Yeah. New rivalry.
So real quick, let me interject for a second. For me, this whole concept is why the NBA misses the boat. Because when we watch football, right? Like, we talked about this before, so I don't want to belabor it. But, it's like Ravens, Steelers. It's like 49ers, Rams, Commanders, Cowboys. Whatever. You got your thing going on. So if Rivals Week was done back in the day and the NBA had foresight, you could have had the Kings and the Lakers.
Just make it a rivalry?
Yeah, like after the whole Kobe elbowing Mike Bibby, but the foul is on Mike Bibby and the game
the Tim Donaghy game.
Yeah, you could have built a rivalry off of that. You know what I'm saying? Because you got your dynamics, right? Sacramento's the capital of California, but LA is the epicenter of California.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? And then like you would have had that
NBA
playoff
teams are just bad for so many years. That's the problem that your rivalry runs into, is like teams are just laughing stocks for so many years.
Well, I know, but I mean, even with like, Lakers and Celtics, like 13-20 Lakers, 13-20 Celtics, it's still a hot ticket. It's still,
you would think one of like the Texas teams would have a little rivalry, but it's 3 teams. They're all in the West.
I would probably, out of the 3, I would probably say Mavs and Spurs would probably be the one.
I think you just got to redraw the lines and then create the rivalry. I think you move some teams to the east, you move some other teams to the west. I think you move Houston's probably the furthest east team. I think maybe you finagle the
like as far as the west, you got like Memphis and New Orleans.
That's what I'm saying. You finagle a little bit to move a couple of teams to the west, and you get that Texas audience playing against the Knicks and stuff like that more often.
Should the NBA do draft rivalry? So, like for example, have Detroit and Houston. Cade Cunningham against Jalen Green, or should they have like Ja against Zion?
I think
since they are player based,
because the league is player based, like you said, that's a perfect phrase to use. Because they're player based, the NBA just decided we're going to sell a bunch of different jerseys, and because Golden State, Memphis, there's no rivalry there. But if we put you both in throwback jerseys, we can sell them.
It was on the brink of being a rivalry, and I mean, I would argue it. They hate each other because remember there was the whole Clay with the ring taunt, and there was Memphis like we're gonna beat them when they got to the playoffs.
John Morant misses 30 games, and it's like, yeah, now I have nothing to sell you.
You got T-Rex out there.
Yeah, but like if you think about the old bad boy Pistons of Chicago, it was Pistons versus Jordan, bad boy Pistons versus Jordan, but by default the Bulls and Jordan never missed any games. He played 80.
So you don't think
a year for his career.
You don't think T-Rex got that hate for Steph?
Nah, Bane with the muscle hamster. You could get regional rivalries. Like I give you Brooklyn and the Nets. But
I know one of the games they picked. One of the games they picked that I thought was smart was Golden State and Sacramento, because you have the proximity. You had the playoff series.
Same block. Yeah. Give me Philly. That's the thing. If the Wizards were good, that would be a good one. Because if people I don't know if people ever been to the East Coast, you could get pretty much from New York, Philly, through Jersey, DC, Maryland, in a couple of hours without traffic. It's super close, and depends on the certain routes you could take. You can bypass 95 and have some of these back state routes. You can get through Maryland, Delaware, DC, pretty quick. Like I said, the Commanders fans are going to come up here for the Philly game. That's not an all day ordeal. They can get up
and Joe Gibbs going to be in the building too.
They could get up at 9:30, get dressed, drive up and be here for the noon tailgate, no problem. I mean, so it's pretty close. So Philly, I think Philly Washington would have been a good one. Obviously,
Chicago, Milwaukee, maybe with the whole proximity.
Milwaukee, but the problem is the NBA has kind of aligned themselves with the player that they created these player rivalries. That's why Steph and LeBron always end up playing in some kind of the Christmas Day game.
I know they done ran LeBron and Steph into the ground.
Yeah, so I think also they use the baseball markets to try to create the basketball rivalries. So you got the Boston New York thing. I don't think Knicks Celtics was ever really a thing. I can't recall the top.
Well, in the early '70s, it was.
That's what I'm saying.
Kiki Vandaway and shit.
The '80s. I don't recall a lot of head-to-head East Coast.
'80s it would have been Celtics Sixers. Dr. J and Larry Bird. Yeah.
So but if you want to go
player,
if you want to match the rivalry with the city, like I said, Yankees Red Sox is New York Boston. So you can say Yankees Red Sox, New York Boston. Either way that works. I think the NBA try to slide on that coattail and yo, we got a New York Boston rivalry, and it's it's not the same. Indiana and the Knicks, I think that's probably your better bet.
Yeah.
Excuse me.
So, all right.
You can go Embiid, Tatum, or Paul George and Tatum, which is the original and then the 2.0 version.
So I'm going to get us out of here with my sicko thought of the week. So you remember back in the day when you were oh my goodness, you're going to be watching that MAC football on Tuesday. So here's my sick NBA thought.
I'm listening.
I'm going to look back. This is just me.
Okay.
I'm the only person in America that's going to do this. I'm going to go back, let's say 4 years from now. I'm going to go back and look, and I'm going to say, damn, what the Charlotte Hornets could have been.
4 years from today.
Yes. I'm going to be damn, what the Charlotte Hornets could have been.
Didn't Miles Bridges have a domestic dispute?
That he's back.
Messed up his money. Yeah, but that messed up his money, and I think that messed up.
Well, they ended up paying him, I think, but he didn't get nearly what he was going to get.
I think he has a regular check.
Let me see. I'm gonna look real quick.
Yeah, I don't think it's anywhere. I think he was looking.
He was looking at a max.
He was looking at 9-figure deal.
He got 3 years, 75.
Yeah, I think he was looking at maybe one of those Ja Morant kind of deals.
5
year,
most
180, 190. Yeah.
But the reason that I say that is because Mark Williams, right, center from Duke. He's 23 now. Out of a possible 246 NBA games, he's missed 167.
Okay, seems pretty.
You got Brandon Miller, out for the season right now, with a broken ligament in his wrist. You got LaMelo. In the last 3 years, he's played 87 games. So one, you're rebuilding with super young players, but nobody's on the court. So I'm going to look back at Charlotte and say, could they have made like an Atlanta Hawks run?
The problem is that's the only thing that those teams could do, because they'll make that run and then they'll trade 2 pieces away.
Yeah.
That following trade deadline.
And then just like all right, I lied. Last thing real quick.
All right.
Our beloved Utah Jazz.
Word.
Second worst record in the league.
They just want to sell out 41 home games.
And they're sitting Walker Kessler and Colin Sexton as healthy scratches. Charlotte, Toronto, and Brooklyn are right there on their ass record-wise, to get closer to Washington, because Washington's only at 6 wins right now. Why won't they trade Lauri Markkanen?
I haven't studied this, so I imagine.
He's 28 years old.
They probably have the most white contributors on their basketball team, and they just want to sell out 41 home games.
Well, he's
Ainge doesn't want to tank. Dwayne Wade's part of the ownership group. I think they feel as if there's 3 or 4 guys in the draft that can make contributions. So as the season plays on, I'd want to keep my pieces, but I'd want to keep the pieces that I'm looking right now. We are January 25th here in Jersey, 2025. I'm thinking, okay, who would I want that's currently on my team to be on the team NBA tip-off, 2027? If Colin Sexton's not that guy, move him. If you think you can make something work with Walker Kessler, keep him. You just have to make that decision, and because you're such a bad team, you're not going to get the immediate turnaround unless you get a super dynamic player. Because even if you look at San Antonio with Wemby, they haven't made this ultimate turnaround. And it used to be number 1 picks did that for you. I can go all the way back to Kyrie. Kyrie didn't turn much around in Cleveland, because by then every other team was 2 or 3 superstars, or 2 superstars and 2 or 3 highly touted role players.
And to top it off, they just traded 3 first-round picks for Phoenix's 2031 pick. So that's probably going to be the Jimmy Butler, ante, I'm guessing, those 3 picks that, Phoenix got from Utah. So it's a 25, a 27, and a 29 first round. And they gave up their 2031.
Got some picks from some other team. And
he
got
does.
A bunch of random picks.
Yeah.
And he's going to keep selling this fan base. It's good, wholesome Wasatch front 801-435 Utah fan base, dedicated fans, hence why the Coyotes moved from Arizona to Utah to continue their pro hockey league or pro hockey team. And Danny Ainge is going to be the charlatan selling them snake oil with all these damn picks.
Yep.
And he won't make a single move unless they full-on flat-out tank for Cooper Flag. Then
Washington got him beat, though. Nobody's catching Washington because they're going to end up trading Kuzma. And, I don't know if they'll trade Jordan Poole or not, but they'll trade somebody else besides Kuzma.
And go 7-72 or 7-75.
Yeah, the worst record is 9-73. Go for it, Get those balls in the lottery, But
10-72. I can't imagine showing up to work.
I don't know. But on that note, y'all, we're going to see you know, this Buffalo Kansas City game this weekend. You know, saying go Commanders. You know, we'll see what happens. We will be back on Tuesday. You know, saying with more talk, more around the association and talking about the Super Bowl, I guess.
Absolutely.
So I am 2-5. That is Mr. Logical, the one and only. Do not bring feelings to a fact fight.
Don't do it.
Like, review, subscribe, rate, share, do all the free things. Do all the good things. Peace.